I used to think I could handle endless late night coding sessions and the kind of exhaustion that makes you forget what day it is. But I was on the edge mentally, physically, and emotionally. In a blur of those sleepless nights, I found myself staring at a screen, overwhelmed by exhaustion. Today, I'm sharing the story of how burnout didn't force me to quit. It forced me to see the truth. The career I built my life around, software development, was never meant to sustain me. What started out as a dream job quickly turned into a nightmare. For over 2 decades, I poured my life into software development, grinding through endless projects, chasing the next big release, and telling myself that one day it would all pay off. Until I hit my mid-40s, that's when reality set in. The long hours, the mental strain, the pressure to stay relevant in an industry that glorifies youth. It all started taking a toll. Prediabetes crept in, my energy levels plummeted. The excitement I once felt for solving complex problems was replaced with an overpowering sense of exhaustion and a looming dread for the future. I kept telling myself it was just a phase, that I just needed to push through. But then I took a hard look at my life. A mortgage hanging over my head, debts that weren't shrinking, and a so-called retirement plan that felt more like a distant illusion than a real safety net. Instead of motivation, all I felt was a deeper sense of exhaustion and despair. I wasn't just exhausted, I was financially trapped. It's one thing to hate your job, but what happens when quitting means losing your home? Was I supposed to keep this up another 20 years? Could I? With a toxic work culture, endless reorganizations, and a job that no longer excited me, I felt trapped. The passion I once had, hidden under office politics, shifting priorities, and the constant uncertainty of what came next, I reached a breaking point. I knew something had to change, and I know I'm not the only one. If you've ever felt trapped in the cycle of burnout, this is your wake-up call. Every morning, I could barely drag myself out of bed. My mind heavy, my body weighed down by fatigue. By the time I arrived at work, it was the same story. Another day, another battle. Slumped at my desk, typing on autopilot, bracing myself for the mountain of problems waiting for me. Mondays were the worst. Pressure and anxiety piled up overnight, turning the start of the week into an endless cycle of stress and self-doubt. My heart pounded, my stomach tightened, as if the weight of the entire day was pressing down on me. Then came one grueling Monday. I had spent the entire weekend spiraling, stressing out about deadlines, work politics, and whether I was even keeping up anymore. My body felt off, like it was warning me to stop. I was jittery, exhausted, and my chest felt tight. But I ignored it like I always did and sat down at my desk. I opened my laptop and took a sip of my coffee, fingers hovering over the keyboard, but I couldn't move. My body felt like dead weight. My brain sluggish and fogged over. My inbox overflowed. Slack notifications from India and Australia teams stacked up like like an avalanche. But I just sat there, staring. It was like my mind had hit an emergency shutdown, a defense mechanism against the grind. Meetings were waiting, deadlines loomed, the backlog kept growing. But for the first time, I didn't care. And then a terrifying thought crept in. What if I just stopped? What if I shut my laptop, ignored the messages, and did nothing? What would actually happen? That was my breaking point. For years, I believed that if I just worked harder, if I just managed my time better, learned the latest frameworks faster, or optimized my workflow, I could make this work. That I could somehow make this job sustainable. So I tried. I changed my habits. I started taking morning walks, setting boundaries, actually making time to eat real meals. No more mindless snacking between meetings or grabbing whatever treats my coworkers brought in. And for a while, it helped. I felt a little better, but then reality hit me again. Because no matter what change I made, the work culture, the expectations, the unrelenting pace of software development, none of that changed. The job still demanded more than I could ever sustainably give. The moment I let my guard down, the pressure crept back in, and that's when I saw the truth. The problem wasn't just burnout. The problem was the job itself. The way the industry operates, the endless deadlines, the unpaid overtime disguised as passion, the expectation to be constantly learning, always available late night meetings with offshore teams, and endless grinding. It was never built to be sustainable. And yet, I had spent years trying to make an unsustainable system work for me. Companies thrive on overworked employees who sacrifice their health for passion. They have no incentive to change a system that benefits them. The more we give, the more they take, until nothing is left. That was the hardest realization of all. Some people pivot careers, others go freelance, and some just accept the grind. But is there a real way out? Or are we just finding ways to cope? If this story sounds painfully familiar, you're not alone. Drop a comment below. What's been your biggest struggle with burnout? And if you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe. So where does that leave me? And where does it leave you? If this system was never meant to be sustainable, what do we do next? Let's talk about it in the comments, and I'll see you on the next one.